Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, a couple things to catch up on, and then we'll get straight into the presidential address to the nation from President Joseph Robinette Biden. So, first on the Speaker saga. Uh, well, actually, there's a poll up. How long do you think Potato Joe's speech will last? Less than 10 minutes? 10 to 20, 21 to 30 minutes, or 31 plus minutes? We know he doesn't have the stamina of a young man anymore, so kind of curious to see what you guys think. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to we currently have still no House Speaker. We currently have crises all over the world. The United States State Department has issued a level 4 warning: do not leave the country. Um, so, a world travel warning for the entire world. So, I have no idea. So, that's one of the questions. Which Biden are we going to get tonight? Are we going to get good Biden, bad Biden, ball chin Biden, Chinese bought and paid for Biden? Uh, no one knows. So that would be interesting. I wish I could have put a bet in Vegas on that one, but I missed the boat. Um, we also we also certainly have some things going on with the Speaker of the House. We'll get to that. Get you caught up on that as well. And yeah, uh, kind of what we think this is going to be. So we'll hit all that. He is scheduled for 8 o'clock p.m. You know, our world leaders don't give a shit about the plebs, so they'll come on when they want to. So let's say hello and we'll get right into it. So, Dog Mama, hello, hello. Uh, and if caps, this is going to be an absolute nightmare. Uh, do we have to be subjected to this? Yes. Like I always say, it's important to know what the other side and the crazies are doing so we can prepare and counter it. Can't put your head in the sand because then things get messy. Hey, Digger. Uh, trip and fall and smack my balls. What's up, Jason? I don't know how I could actually mute my intro. So, if it's my intro, it's probably not me. What's up, Comer? Linda, hello, hello. Amazing. What's going on? Last I heard, he was born in Israel. But you don't have to be Israeli to be a Zionist, or you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. Something like that. I don't remember the exact quote. Uh, well, like I said, we'll get to that in just a second. Let me say hello first. Bad Dazzer, hello, hello. Um, so we'll start with the Speaker of the House because that's interesting. There was supposedly a resolution uh to make bow tie guy Mc McHenry. Sure, that sounds right. Patrick McHenry, uh, pseudo Speaker of the House. So keep him at his pro tem status, but give him all the powers of a regular Speaker, like he's a real boy. And I take it that Matt Gaetz was not happy because there was some tension in the closed door meeting between Mr. Kevin McCarthy and uh, Matt Gaetz earlier today. That made an announcement from Jim Jordan that he would be continuing his run for Speaker of the House and that they would be going to another vote. Um, After they went to announce they were going to an alleged another vote, we waited, we waited, we waited. They came back, closed Congress for the day, and ended completely. So I who the hell knows what's going on right now. Um, but so there was not a speaker elected. They are no longer going to put a bill on the floor to give McHenry advanced powers. Um, and yeah, that's kind of where we sit. The House is opens again at 10 a.m. tomorrow. They're supposed to call roll at 10 a.m. So that will be interesting. We'll see if we get another speaker. I thought originally they were going to do it right after Biden gave his speech tonight, but that does not seem to be the case. Now they can come back and reconvene at any time, so it is possible. So we'll see what happens. The speech is still not live. He's still not there. It is from the Oval Office, supposedly the real one, not the mock-up that he has in his basement. So, the mask was an interesting, the alleged mask, let's say, was a very interesting thing that happened recently. It didn't appear that that was Joe Biden, especially from the earlier pictures. We had a good time in Discord comparing and contrasting, and we came up with that there was no way in hell that that was the same Joe Biden. Um, so, uh, uh, thanks for the super Xcomer. Gonna cover this by the way. Devil comet 3 times bigger than Mount Everest explodes, now heading towards Earth. I have not heard anything because I've been so embroiled in this. But I will certainly look it up. Certainly look it up. But thank you for the super, buddy. Uh, damn. Ponds. Yeah, let me do some research into it, and I will certainly do a show on it. I don't know when. British Astronomical Association. Okay, I'll reach out to some friends. 12 ponds. Damn it. Uh, hey, Shanny. Um, you are wonderful at sidetracking me, Comer. Wonderful. Oh, good deal, man. Good deal, sir. Uh, no, it doesn't look like it. So, what's the speech going to be about? So most of the press reports say that it's going to be somehow referencing war in some way. Could it be just a plea for funding for that 100 billion for Israel? Very possible. Could Biden be declaring war on the Middle East? Also possible. In a congressional session this morning, it was either late last night or this morning, earlier this morning. I apologize, but in a congressional committee, they gave authorization to attack Iran. After that, they shot down 2 drones over Iraq and 1 over Iran. And all 3 were combined forces of, the new axis of evil. So, uh, I'm hearing a rumor that the news is causing people to cry and threaten to leave the admin. Could be. Could be. Like this news, the speech coming up? That's interesting. Huh. My personal thought, again, this is just opinion from some asshole on the internet. Like, I have no direct or indirect knowledge of this. Uh, However, I think certainly that there's going to be some kind of announcement of a conflict or a war and some kind of information that sends us into, if not a global conflict, definitely heavily into a regional one. I don't think any of this is good. I am incredibly concerned with what could be the likely outcome, and especially since it's a primetime address, especially with the tensions and things going on, and especially since we know how hard it is to keep Joe Biden up past noon. So it's got to be important, or they wouldn't be doing it. So there is the White House, and we are about 4 minutes away. So We'll patch into Fox News real quick, and we'll see what they have to say.
Between Israel and Hamas, and on the war in Ukraine, we'll be bringing on our friend Hal Kempfer, retired Marine intelligence officer, to break down what the president has said. We're expecting the remarks to be about 15 to 20 minutes or so.
Bam.
But like I said, Oval Office addresses are few and far between, and that's because they are significant. The matter of import that the president wants to convey to the nation with that backdrop.
And then poll so you guys don't cheat.
Resolute desk. You've seen it time and again with different presidents, different administrations.
11 to 20 minutes, 46%. You guys are smart people.
So we were doing some digging the last time.
Less than 10, 33%. 21 to 30, 13, and 31 plus 6.
During the debt seal negotiations, once that negotiation was reached between House Republicans.
Can you hear me?
The Biden administration raising the debt limit of the United States, so the country did not default on its debt.
That's also possible, but the news reports are saying that it is certainly something regarding war.
As we continue to monitor this shot, and once we have a shot inside, we'll bring that to you.
I can hear it. Can you hear me? Oh, it's way soft. Okay. I can turn it up for sure. I think it's actually... I'm not going to say that because
this is Andrew Kraft here. If you are just joining us, we are fastly approaching the top of the next hour. Almost 5 o'clock here on the West Coast, almost 8 o'clock there in the nation's capital. You're looking live at the White House at the moment. President Biden going to address the nation from the Oval Office on a lot of these international conflicts. Two of them specifically, the war in Ukraine continues to grind on. The counteroffensive moving very, very slowly. Some minimal progress has been gained on the Ukrainian side. Remember, we reported earlier this week that those long-range missile systems known as ATACMS, well, they are being now used, deployed in the battlefield for Ukraine. And so that was a long fight. President Biden held off for quite some time on giving the green light to sending those ATACMS over to Ukraine, but they are now being used by Ukrainian forces to some effect. And we'll be talking about that with our friend Hal Kempfer. Also, the war between Israel and Hamas. We are hearing from Bibi Netanyahu and the defense minister in Israel.
Okay, they sent over a ton of those things, and they shot down 2 helicopters. That's it. Those ATACMS. They were not effective at all.
Completely. You also are hearing from the other side of this conflict, though, the words de-escalation, the words ceasefire to minimize civilian casualties, especially there in the Gaza Strip. We'll be talking about where these Gazan civilians can evacuate to. We're getting some reporting because President Biden spoke with Egyptian leader al-Sisi that Rafah border crossing is potentially going to be open for some of these civilian evacuees to get out of Gaza if a ground offensive happens either tomorrow or into the weekend. So we're going to be continuing to talk about all of this tonight, but this is a major address the president is going to be having. It is 8 o'clock on the dot there in Washington. Once we have
all media
shot there,
has billed this as a major address.
Office, we'll bring it to you.
I feel like it's probably not going to be a nothing burger. I obviously have no indications of what it's going to be other than media reports.
All right, I'm just going to come on camera here. Welcome everyone to Live Now from Fox as we continue to preview President Biden's speech. We want to thank you for being with us. We know there's been so much interest in the Israel-Hamas war as we go almost 2 weeks since this conflict began. But also the president,
seriously,
we'll talk about what the U.S. commitment is going to be to continue providing material support to the war in Ukraine as well. But there's a lot happening on Capitol Hill that we're going to get to that could stymie some of the administration's asks, especially when it comes to funding. We're hearing that the president is asking $100 billion in aid. The president is at the Oval right now. Let's listen.
We can't afford it. All right, we'll listen in. I won't interrupt.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. We're facing an inflection point in history. One of those moments where the decisions we make today are going to determine the future for decades to come. That's what I'd like to talk with you about tonight. You know, early this morning, I returned from Israel. They tell me I'm the first American president to travel there during the war. I met with the prime minister and members of his cabinet. And most movingly, I met with Israelis who had personally lived through horrific horror of the attack by Hamas on the 7th of October. More than 1,300 people slaughtered in Israel, including at least 32 American citizens. Scores of innocents, from infants to the elderly grandparents, Israelis, Americans taken hostage. As I told the families of Americans being held captive by Hamas, we're pursuing every avenue to bring their loved ones home. As president, there is no higher priority for me than the safety of Americans held hostage. The terrorist group Hamas unleashed pure, unadulterated evil in the world. But sadly, the Jewish people know perhaps better than anyone that there is no limit to the depravity of people when they want to inflict pain on others. In Israel, I saw people who are strong, determined, resilient, and also angry, in shock and in deep, deep pain. I also spoke with President Abbas, the Palestinian Authority, and reiterated that the United States remains committed to the Palestinian people's right to dignity and to self-determination. The actions of Hamas terrorists don't take that right away. Like so many other, I'm heartbroken by the tragic loss of Palestinian life, including the explosion at the hospital in Gaza, which was not done by the Israelis. We mourn every innocent life lost. We can't ignore the humanity of innocent Palestinians who only want to live in peace and have an opportunity. You know, the assault on Israel echoes nearly 20 months of war, tragedy, and brutality inflicted on the people of Ukraine, people that were very badly hurt since Putin launched his all-out invasion. We've not forgotten the mass graves, the bodies found bearing signs of torture, rape used as a weapon by the Russians, and thousands of Ukrainian children forcibly taken into Russia, stolen from their parents. It's sick. Hamas and Putin represent different threats, but they share this in common. They both want to completely annihilate a neighboring democracy, completely annihilate it. Hamas' stated purpose for existing is the destruction of the state of Israel and the murder of Jewish people. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people. Hamas uses Palestinian civilians as human shields, and innocent Palestinian families are suffering greatly because of them. Meanwhile, Putin denies Ukraine has or ever had real statehood. He claims the Soviet Union created Ukraine. And just 2 weeks ago, he told the world that if the United States and our allies withdraw, and if the United States withdraw, our allies will as well, military support for Ukraine would have, quote, a week left to live, but we're not withdrawing. I know these conflicts can seem far away, and it's natural to ask, why does this matter to America? So let me share with you why making sure Israel and Ukraine succeed is vital for America's national security. You know, history has taught us that when terrorists don't pay a price for their terror, when dictators don't pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos and death and more destruction. They keep going, and the cost and the threats to America and the world keep rising. So if we don't stop Putin's appetite for power and control in Ukraine, he won't limit himself just to Ukraine. Putin's already threatened to remind, quote, remind Poland that their Western land was a gift from Russia. One of his top advisors, a former president of Russia, has called Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania Russia's Baltic provinces. These are all NATO allies. For 75 years, NATO has kept peace in Europe and has been the cornerstone of American security. And if Putin attacks a NATO ally, we will defend every inch of NATO which the treaty requires and calls for. We'll have something that we do not seek. Make it clear, we do not seek. We do not seek to have American troops fighting in Russia or fighting against Russia. Beyond Europe, we know that our allies, and maybe most importantly, our adversaries and competitors, are watching. They're watching our response in Ukraine as well. And if we walk away and let Putin erase Ukraine's independence, would-be aggressors around the world would be emboldened to try the same. The risk of conflict and chaos could spread in other parts of the world, in the Indo-Pacific, in the Middle East, especially in the Middle East. Iran is supporting Russia in Ukraine, and it's supporting Hamas and other terrorist groups in the region, and will continue to hold them accountable, I might add. The United States and our partners across the region are working to build a better future for the Middle East. One where the Middle East is more stable, better connected to its neighbors, and through innovative projects like the India-Middle East-Europe Rail Corridor that I announced this year at the summit of the world's biggest economies. More predictable markets, more employment, less rage, less grievances, less war when connected. It benefits the people who would benefit the people of the Middle East and would benefit us. American leadership is what holds the world together. American alliances are what keep us, America, safe. American values are what make us a partner that other nations want to work with. To put all that at risk, if we walk away from Ukraine, if we turn our backs on Israel, it's just not worth it. That's why tomorrow I'm going to send to Congress an urgent budget request to fund America's national security needs, to support our critical partners, including Israel and Ukraine. Is a smart investment that's going to pay dividends for American security for generations. Help us keep American troops out of harm's way. Help us build a world that is safer, more peaceful, more prosperous for our children and grandchildren. In Israel, we must make sure that they have what they need to protect their people today and always. The security package I'm sending to Congress and asking Congress to do is an unprecedented commitment to Israel's security that will sharpen Israel's qualitative military edge, which we've committed to, the qualitative military edge. We're going to make sure Iron Dome continues to guard the skies over Israel. We're going to make sure other hostile actors in the region know that Israel is stronger than ever and prevent this conflict from spreading. Look, at the same time, President Netanyahu and I discussed again yesterday the critical need for Israel to operate by the laws of war. That means protecting civilians in combat as best as they can. The people of Gaza urgently need food, water, and medicine. Yesterday, in discussions with the leaders of Israel and Egypt, I secured an agreement for the first shipment of humanitarian assistance from the United Nations to Palestinian civilians in Gaza. If Hamas does not divert or steal these shipments, we're going to provide an opening for sustained delivery of life-saving humanitarian assistance for the Palestinians. As I said in Israel, as hard as it is, we cannot give up on peace. We cannot give up on a two-state solution. Israel and Palestinians equally deserve to live in safety, dignity, and peace. You know, and here at home, we have to be honest with ourselves. In recent years, too much hate has given too much oxygen, fueling racism, the rise of anti-Semitism, Islamic phobia, right here in America. It's also intensified in the wake of recent events that led to the horrific threats and attacks that both shock us and break our hearts. On October 7th, terror attacks have triggered deep scars and terrible memories in the Jewish community. Today, Jewish families worried about being targeted in school, wearing symbols of their faith, walking down the street, or going out about their daily lives. You know, I know many of you in the Muslim American community, the Arab American community, the Palestinian American community, and so many others are outraged and heartened, saying to yourselves, here we go again with Islamophobia and distrust we saw after 9/11. Just last week, a mother was brutally stabbed. A little boy here in the United States, a little boy who just turned 6 years old was murdered in their home outside of Chicago. His name was Wadiha, a proud American, a proud Palestinian American family. We can't stand by and stand silent when this happens. We must, without equivocation, denounce anti-Semitism. We must also, without equivocation, denounce Islamophobia. And to all you hurting, those of you hurting, I want you to know I see you. You belong. And I want to say this to you. You're all America. You're all America. This is in a moment, in moments like these, when fear and suspicion, anger and rage run hard, that we have to work harder than ever to hold on to the values that make us who we are. We're a nation of religious freedom, freedom of expression. We all have a right to debate and disagree without fear of being targeted in schools or workplaces or in our communities. I must renounce violence and vitriol. See each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. When I was in Israel yesterday, I said that when America experienced the hell of 9/11, we felt enraged as well. While we sought and got justice, we made mistakes. So I cautioned the government of Israel not to be blinded by rage. And here in America, let us not forget who we are. We reject all forms of hate, whether against Muslim, Jews, or anyone. That's what great nations do. And we are a great nation. On Ukraine, I'm asking Congress to make sure we can continue to send Ukraine the weapons they need to defend themselves and their country without interruption, so Ukraine can stop Putin's brutality in Ukraine. They are succeeding. When Putin invaded Ukraine, he thought he would take Kyiv and all of Ukraine in a matter of days. Well, over a year later, Putin has failed, and he continues to fail. Kyiv still stands because of the bravery of the Ukrainian people. Ukraine has regained more than 50% of the territory Russian troops once occupied, backed by US-led coalition of more than 50 countries around the world, all doing its part to support Kyiv. What would happen if we walked away? We are the essential nation. Meanwhile, Putin has turned to Iran and North Korea to buy attack drones and ammunition to terrorize Ukrainian cities and people. From the outset, I've said, I will not send American troops to fight in Ukraine. All Ukraine is asking for is help for the weapons, munitions, the capacity, the capability to push invading Russian forces off their land, and the air defense systems to shoot down Russian missiles before they destroy Ukrainian cities. Let me be clear about something. We send Ukrainian equipment sitting in our stockpiles. And when we use the money allocated by Congress, we use it to replenish our own stores, our own stockpiles with new equipment. Equipment that defends America and is made in America. Patriot missiles for air defense batteries, made in Arizona. Artillery shells manufactured in 12 states across the country, in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas, and so much more. You know, just as in World War II, today patriotic American workers are building the arsenal of democracy and serving the cause of freedom. Let me close with this. Earlier this year, I boarded Air Force One for a secret flight to Poland. There I boarded a train with blacked out windows for a 10-hour ride each way to Kyiv, to stand with the people of Ukraine ahead of the one-year anniversary of their brave fight against Putin. I'm told I was the first American to enter a war zone not controlled by the United States military since President Lincoln. With me was just a small group of security personnel and a few advisors. But when I exited that train and met President Zelensky, I didn't feel alone. I was bringing with me the idea of America, the promise of America, to the people who are today fighting for the same things we fought for 250 years ago: freedom, independence, self-determination. And as I walked through Kyiv with President Zelensky, with air raid sirens sounding in the distance, I felt something I've always believed, more strongly than ever before. America is a beacon to the world. Still. Where, as my friend Madeleine Albright said, the indispensable nation. Tonight, there are innocent people all over the world who hope because of us, who believe in a better life because of us, who are desperate not to be forgotten by us, and are waiting for us. But time is of the essence. I know we have our divisions at home. We have to get past them. We can't let petty, partisan, angry politics get in the way of our responsibilities as a great nation. We cannot and will not let terrorists like Hamas and tyrants like Putin win. I refuse to let that happen. In moments like these, we have to remember who we are. We are the United States of America. The United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. My fellow Americans, thank you for your time. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
All right, President Biden speaking there for a little under 15 minutes about the shared priority.
All right. So we're gonna start with something. There's so many different directions I can go with this. I'm gonna start right here. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and assume among its powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute another government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for the light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown. Mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than the right themselves by abolishing the forms which they are accustomed. But on a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object evidences a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, is their right. It is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guardians for the future security. Such has been a patience of sufferance for the colonies, and is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their systems of government. It was written for a reason. It was written for. So, thought that was important. That was the beginning of the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. And then it goes into the long list of grievances. Maybe we'll go through that at some point. But in those long list of grievances, it's not taxing the hell out of your own citizenry to give money to a foreign nation that couldn't give a flying shit about anything that's happening here. We're at a point in our government's history where we have no voice. We have no ability to affect change. We have no consent of the governed. All we have is tyranny. We have tyranny where our governmental institutions can't even elect a speaker of the House, which seems to be a big smoke and mirrors bullshit. We have tyranny to the point where our president won't answer questions after a press conference. We have tyranny to the point where if you're on the wrong political side, you get rounded up, you get 22 years in jail for walking through the Capitol building. But then if you're on the right side, 3 of the thousands get arrested. 3. Most of which were foreign nationals. Most of which were not American citizens and don't have the right we're at a desperate time in this country, and we're at a desperate time for America. These people don't give a shit about us. They don't care even the slightest about us. It's all about getting another check. So I want to break down a couple things that happened there. So one of the things that he did was he said, blah, 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 Putin bad, da, 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 the coalition of 50 nations. So what you just said, for the first time, you said the quiet part out loud, a part that we all knew, we were all aware of. But you said the quiet part out loud with, we are officially engaged in a war with Russia, and it is indisputable at this point. If Putin wants to sink that carrier in the Mediterranean Sea, he has every single right in the world. Biden just announced on national television during national address that we are part of a coalition that is attacking Russia. All things that we knew before, but now are in a presidential address on national television. That is an act of war. We don't get to be world police and then tell everybody what they can and can't do alongside of it. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was another beg for money. We're out of money, Joe. We don't have it. These regional conflicts and these people need to take care of their damn selves, just like America would. Who would come to our aid? Not a single fucking person. It's about time. It's about time that we start pushing back. And this has gotten so out of hand that we, again, on national television, it wasn't the straight declaration of war, but he just said that we have been engaged in a war with a nuclear superpower. Again, not something shocking to us, but the fact that he said it and said it so brazenly, and then talks about how Ukraine's winning. No, they're not. They're certainly not. Then he talks about how things are getting pushed back and they're reclaiming territory. No, they're not. The Russians are toying with them on the border. Like, let's be honest about what's happening. The Russians are using up old stock so they can replenish it. We're not, by the way. And you heard, oh, we're just using the old stuff so we can replenish it. No, that's what Russia's doing. It's not really what we're doing because we really don't have the capability to do it. We can't keep up with it. I know that much. And then you get into the furtherance because he knows what this is going to do. You know the shockwaves that this is going to send to the world. You know Iran's going to react. You know Russia's going to react. China's probably going to react. You know what's going to happen from this, and then you try and rah-rah with the wartime economy. This is built in Arizona. This is built in my backyard. Like, it's not, Joe. It's not. This isn't Rosie the Riveter days. This isn't World War II. This isn't where we convert the Ford Motor Company into fucking B-17 plants and start pumping out planes like nobody's ever seen before. Because that happened right up the road from me. This was an act of trying to be strong, trying to antagonize without actually saying it because he's too much of a coward to actually say that we're going to war to fight these countries. He's going to let them do it first, and then we'll react. We're not obligated to anyone. We're not obligated to Ukraine. We're not obligated to Israel. We have slight obligation to NATO, but I mean, hell, if we're being honest with that, they haven't paid their fair share in a long time. So who the hell cares about NATO even? Yeah, Iron Dome rockets are not old stock. Sorry, I haven't been paying a lot of attention to the chat because it's really pissed me off. But the Israeli mouthpieces on Twitter are absolutely outraged. Well, of course they are, because where's my union job at the land factory? Exactly. And it was supposed to be that rah-rah, yeah, we're gonna go in and we're all together. Then he brings up we shouldn't be persecuted for our own beliefs. Which side's being persecuted for their own beliefs, Joe? it couldn't be the Republicans that won't even go out and protest anymore because we know it's going to wind up 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades worth of jail time, and maybe 3-4 years before we get any trial whatsoever, to go out and protest this bullshit government. We are under the thumb more than we have been maybe ever as a nation. And this is not what the founding documents were. This is not our founding agreement. This is bullshit that's gotten out of hand. We can't elect a president in because they cheat at the damn elections. We can't do anything. We have a tyrannical government that will stop at nothing to tax the hell out of us to send it to other countries because they want a one world government. Everybody here in the United States is hurting. Prices are ridiculous. Inflation's out of control. Our dollar's worth nothing and getting worse. But no, we can't drill here. We can't produce anything here. How the hell are we going to go to war with the country that gives us everything that we need to sustain and survive? It's not going to end well. I still am convinced that this is all a grand plan for the destruction of America, and I'm tired of it. Some will argue incompetence, but there's no way that you can be this goddamn incompetent and make it to that office. This is deliberate and intentional. They do not serve our interest anymore. They do not serve the people. And it's feeling like 76 again. And it's starting to really, really get there. And again, just read you the Declaration of Independence. It's not a, if you want to. It's not a, hey, maybe. It's not a, if you get the chance to, or if you're a crazy MAGA conservative, or if you're blah, blah, blah. It is our more than our right. It's our necessity. This is the government is it's such trash. Such trash. And we continue to be put further and further underneath the boot, and we own nothing and be happy. We own nothing and be happy. Because we're getting there. We're getting there. Everyone is struggling. Everyone is trying to do what they can to get by. And I understand that. And I feel like we're close. We're close to that point. And I hope there's still a way that we can do it effectively and peacefully. I vote out every single damn one of them. Every one of them. Top to bottom. I know that's impossible, and I know the SEALs are over there clapping about how Joe Biden, my jobs, and blah, blah, blah. He said peace and unity, but damn it. If we have any chance of resolving this the way that it needs to, and I know not everybody here loves him, but Donald Trump has to win by 100 million votes so they can't cheat. Every single office deserves to be primaried. Every single office in this next election cycle deserves to be primaried and replaced. They cannot do the job. We need new individuals. Thanks, buddy. It is appreciated. So, I just got foreign aid, so I can't run anymore. That's As soon as they started talking, I'd be like, oh shit, you got foreign aid. Fucking throw me in prison for the next 100 years. Uh, Biden should lead the troops into battle. Yeah, he should be first. He should be first. Taliban asked China to be included in Beijing's Belt and Road project. Yep. Yep. They are. They're all working together, and they're sitting there laughing at the United States, and realistically, they're probably going to win unless patriots come together and take this fucking country back quick. Well, it's not 17 million in stocks that, were acquired illegally. 77 members of Congress saw supposedly illegally traded stocks. That's the news story coming out right now. But the Dems would still crucify me over that. But yeah, I don't know. And like I said, I usually my attempt is to get pissed off, say something, and then try and provide a solution. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the solution is. I know we need people to lead, and I know we need people to fight like it might not be there tomorrow. Because it probably won't. So I don't know. If anybody has any suggestions, I'm happy to listen to them. If anybody wants to talk about it, reach out to me. I'm pretty accessible. So yeah, I know. Yep. He didn't mention the U.S. hostages. He didn't mention the insurrection in the Capitol yesterday. He didn't mention any of it. He is bought and paid for by foreign governments, and it does not show any more than tonight. We see it with the speaker election that I've been covering. The only thing that's important to the speakers is how much money can we send to Ukraine. That's why still, in even the third round, still my description said something about we need our money for Ukraine and Israel, so we need to get a new speaker. That's all the shit they care about. They care about giving our money away. Because once again, in my opinion, my true, honest, heartfelt opinion is that they're trying to destroy the country from the inside out. I believe that they're traitors. I believe that we are infiltrated, and I believe that they're trying to destroy us from the inside out. And that's the scary part. He just started. He just started the dare program against Greg. Yep. If only his son would have watched. Shit, where's it at? Apparently I didn't put a description there. I was gonna read what the hell it said, but oh well, it's unimportant. So yeah, we'll pay attention to the speaker. I assume that they'll try and act like there's one gonna go through here fairly quickly, but we got to make a difference. It's the little pedal on the right. Yeah. Yeah, the U.S. military getting attacked in Iraq. He didn't mention the drones that we shot down over Iraq and Iran. We, yeah, probably the worst speech, worst primetime address speech that I may have ever seen. It was bad. It was very bad. So, confirmed, neocons were the ones who released the false information that Jordan was stepping down. I figured as much. Well, I figured that they were probably trying to bait Gates and company into voting for McHenry. And once they found out, that's when everything exploded with Matt Gaetz and McCarthy, because there was several reports about that. So, but ladies and gentlemen, I probably already said too much. Just a reminder, I have a Rumble, and if I have to, I'll go to the locals at some point. But yeah, I think we're fucked. That's the plain simple side of it. So, and that's as presidential as he gets. Yeah, and he was still tripping over, and that's not even talking about the conspiracy that I don't think that's the same man that left the United States the other day. Just for the record, but yes, YouTube is assho. Remember, same name over on Rumble, Mighty Meat, all one word. But he should have went with his usual speeches. That Churchill wrote. Yeah, I mean, and there's probably an applicable one here. So, thank you guys all for hanging out with me and watching that absolute train wreck. This man and this country are unfortunately an absolute joke, and not the one that I fought for. So I hope everybody stays safe. Keep your head up. I think it's going to get more dicey as we go forward. This is probably going to be it for me this evening. Brian, I will believe, Brian, if you're there, I think Brian and I are going to play Legos tomorrow and have a good old time. But I have to talk to him because I don't remember. I think we might have something. So I don't know. Keep an eye out. If they do end up voting for Speaker in the morning, I will cover it for y'all. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good night, and I will catch you again soon. Take care, everybody.